Hey, this is Al Angelo from A Plus Racing. A Plus Racing. And I had a request for a video on how to bleed brakes from, I think it's Annette. And I told them that I would make the video today. So I have a car out here that is going to the 25 hour and I need to bleed the brakes. And it's just to make sure that everything is good. So why would I need to bleed the brakes? Well, there's a few reasons why you should bleed brakes. One is if it hasn't been bled in a really long time and the fluid gets really contaminated and you need to do a brake flush. So that's one reason. Another reason is if you feel that the pedal is getting spongy. So if the brake pedal isn't solid as it used to be and it starts to get kind of spongy, then that's time to bleed the brakes. Another way is that if you've opened up the system, and it sounds like she's going to open up the system, she's replacing some calipers, and she's going to open the system, and she's going to need to bleed the brakes, and she's not real sure how to do it. And of course, she wants to know the right way, and that's my way. All right, so yeah, if we had 50 mechanics in here and we asked them all on how to bleed brakes, it'd probably be 50 different ones. But there's only one right way, and that's the way that I do it. So a very common way of bleeding brakes is to have somebody in the car, they pump the brake pedal, and then they hold the pedal down, and then somebody cracks open one of the bleeder screws. I know you've bled them like that. I'm going to be honest, I bled them like that. Will I bleed them like that again in the future? Yes. Okay. Is it the right way? No. Okay. And here's the reason why. You know, if you've done that method, you know I'm right on this. So when you get in the car and the car has been sitting and you're going to bleed the brakes, the air bubbles in the car all go to one area. So look, I drew a picture. Okay. And this is air. Okay. So the air bubbles will all kind of congregate in an area. And then what happens is when you pump the brake pedal while it's under pressure, so the bleeder screws are closed, what happens is you compress and uncompress these bubbles until they turn to foam. And then when you crack the bleeder screw open, you usually see foam coming out. Come on, you know I'm right on this. All right, so it's really hard to get rid of all the foam, okay? So the trick is to not put the brake system under pressure. So the way we do that is we use a bottle method. And I know you've probably seen it on YouTube. I've seen videos on there myself. And so we basically take a bottle with a hose. We crack open the bleeder screw. We're going to pump the pedal. The air is going to come out. And the air is going to come out in big bubbles. I don't want to turn these bubbles into foam. All right. So that's the best way of bleeding them. All right. Now, what kind of fluid are we going to use? Well, I'm just going to use regular. This is .3. Anytime you see the word dot, that normally stands for Department of Transportation. This is .3. There also is .4. You can use .3 and .4. They're good to between 400 and 500 degrees. There's really not a lot of difference between .3 and .4, but they're both made for automotive. So for automotive, I use .3 or .4. In this case, I have .3. Now, have I used the racing brake fluid? I have. This cost about $8, and this much of racing brake fluid, that's good to like 800 degrees, might cost you $35. All right. In a Miata, I have not seen any benefits personally of running the expensive brake fluid versus this brake fluid. So I've been using this for years, including in the 25-hour cars with no problems. What kind of problems could you have? Well, the problem that you could have is you could have like, if the brakes got so hot that it started to boil the brake fluid in the caliper, that would make air bubbles, and then the pedal would feel spongy. So I've never had any complaints that, hey, you know, we're into this race 12 hours and the brake pedal's feeling spongy. Never heard that. So even running just regular .3, .4. But if you want to run the fancy stuff, when I have it, I use it. You know, so sometimes I have it. Somebody gives me a bottle of it or something like that. I use it. But for the most part, I just use regular brake fluid. All right. So now we know that we got to get rid of the air bubbles, all right, out of the system. Or if we're flushing the system, we'll flush it until the brake fluid comes out clean. All right. Okay. So we're going to take a little break and we're going to go out to the car. I'm going to show you how I do that. All right. We'll be right back. All right. I'm back. I told you we'd come back. All right. So we're under the hood. This is my 99 car. This is the car that won the 25-hour at Thunder Hill last year. So we're going back at it again. I'm going to go ahead and flush the brake system on it. I already see it's pretty clean. We didn't use this car much during the whole COVID thing, so this car is still pretty fresh. But so here's the master cylinder right here. And in here is where the brake fluid is at. So if I take this cap off, I can see the brake fluid. You can see the level is right up to here. All right, now this is a dual reservoir. Even though it's hard to see, there's a reservoir in the middle and there's one on the outside. So one of those goes to the rear brakes and the other one goes to the front brakes. All right, now I'm going to go ahead and top it off with brake fluid. And so I have my brake fluid right here. So I'm going to top this off all the way to the top. And I'm going to try to avoid getting this on the paint. All right. Another thing, too, about brake fluid is that it's hygroscopic. And what does that mean? Well, that's a big fancy word. That means that it likes moisture. So if you leave the cap off, it's going to gain moisture. And we don't want it sucking moisture out of the air and then pouring moisture in here. So we try to keep brake fluid capped off as much as we can to avoid it sucking in moisture. All right, so I know my brake fluid level is full. And I want to keep my brake level full all the time. So during this process, you never want the master cylinder to run out of brake fluid. Because if it does, it's going to suck in air, and then you have to start all over again. All right? So we got to keep tabs on this to make sure that the master cylinder doesn't go empty. All right? Now, I'm going to take the car up. I'm going to show you something that's very interesting on a Miata. Okay? So here we go. We're going to lift the car up. So on normal cars, we bleed from the furthest wheel from the master cylinder to the closest. But a Miata does something a little different than all other cars. So I want to show this to you. I'm going to take a little time to put the car up in there, then we're going to bring it back down, and then we're going to bleed it. But I really want to show you what this is about. So in most cases, you would start bleeding the right rear, then the left rear, then the right front, then the left front. And that would be most cases, all right? But come here and check this out. So here's the brake line running right down along here, okay? And it goes up to this box. Check it out, okay? See that junction box right there? And then this is where it comes in. One line goes to here, and where does the other line go to? It loops up, and it goes over to here. So this, the left rear, is the farthest from the master cylinder. So on a Miata, you need to start on this one first, okay? Now, if we look up here at the top of the caliper, there's a bleeder screw. The bleeder screw is always going to be the highest point. The other day, I had some kids in the class that replaced the front calipers. They put them on backwards, and the bleeder screws were on the bottom. And they bled the brakes for 3 days, used 4 gallons of brake fluid, couldn't figure out how come they couldn't get rid of the air. Because the bleeder screw has to be on the top. The air's got to go up. So it took me about 10 seconds to figure that out. All right, so we're going to start off by bleeding this one here. Now, I already have somebody inside the car that can go ahead and push on the brake pedal. And we already know that the master cylinder is full. So I'm going to use the bottle method. And basically what that is I have a bottle with a hose, and the hose is submerged in some brake fluid, and I'm going to put this over the bleeder screw. So let me open that bleeder screw valve. So let me get a ratchet here and a socket. That doesn't look like the right size. That one does. Okay. So I'm using 8mm 6-point. Okay, got to be a 6-point. Don't get a 12-point. All right. Okay, so up here is the bleeder screw right here. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to crack this bleeder screw open like that. And then I'm going to put the tube over the bleeder screw like that. Okay? And then when he pushes on the brake pedal, you'll see the air come out the bottom of the tube. All right, go ahead and pump the brake pedal slowly. Yeah, keep going. So you can see air coming out of the systems. And there's also some air in the tube. And if the fluid was really dirty, you would be seeing fluid coming out. But I don't see any fluid coming out. So he's still pumping, and it looks like we got clean fluid. Go ahead and hold the pedal to the floor. So we got clean fluid that's coming out, and no more bubbles. Okay, So I'm going to unplug this. Now he's holding the brake pedal to the floor while I tighten the bleeder screw. And the reason for that is because I don't want to suck air back in through the bleeder screw. Now, if you ever get to the point where you open the bleeder screw and nothing comes out, the bleeder screw might be clogged. So you could take a paper clip and unclog any little animals that made a home in there. All right, let's go to the other side. So I'm just going to do the same thing over here. So my bleeder screw is up here, and I'm going to go ahead and loosen it up like that. I'm going to put this on. Okay. And my hose is submerged. Go ahead and pump the pedal. There's the bubbles. And we're going to wait till make sure the clean fluid comes out. No foam or anything. All right, good. Hold the pedal to the floor. Okay. I can take this off. I'm going to tighten up the bleeder screw. And you notice I'm not going crazy on the tightening here because that thing's hollow. I don't want to break it. All right, it's hollow and it's very fine thread. So I'm just cinching it down. That's it. All right, so what I should do next to be safe is I'm going to go ahead and lower the car. And we're going to check that master cylinder level. So let's go ahead and lower it, and then we'll do the right front. Okay. So this is going to take a couple minutes here. Annette, I hope that you liked this video, and I hope that you're successful with your calipers. I know that if you follow the video that you're going to have no problem getting those calipers on the car and bleeding the system. So it's pretty simple. Like I say always, there's nothing really hard on these cars. They're pretty easy to work on. And I'm glad that you chimed in that you needed to see this video and that I'm able to deliver it for you. Okay, let's go here and look at the master cylinder. So I can see that the master cylinder went down a little bit. So I'm going to go ahead and top it off. If you do get this on the paint, just rinse it off with water. Okay, we're all the way full again. Put my cap on. Put this cap on. Okay, and let's go to the right front. Okay, I'm going to lift the vehicle up. And that should be good. All right, so if you look over here, I'm going to go ahead and spin the steering wheel like that. And I'm going to loosen up the bleeder screw. It's right up here on the top. Okay, so it's right there. So I'm going to go ahead and crack that loose like that. I'm going to get my tube. I'll put it on there. Okay, go ahead and pump the pedal. Air bubbles. Okay, looks good. Okay, hold it down. All right, I got that. So now I'm going to tighten up that bleeder screw. And I can see my master cylinder level is still full. Okay, that looks good. I'm going to turn this the other way. Okay, let's go to the other side. Okay, bleeder screws right here up on top. So you set that down. Crack it loose. All right, I'm going to put the tube on like that. Okay, go ahead and pump the brake pedal. Okay, looks good. Okay, hold the brake pedal down. Okay, I got that. I'm going to tighten this up like that. Set this aside. All right. Okay, go ahead and pump the brake pedal. Feels good? Okay, I'm going to lower the vehicle down because I want to top off that master cylinder and make sure it's up to the maximum level. So I was kind of overfilling the master cylinder a little bit while we were bleeding it. But check it out. I overfilled it, but it's right to the max line right now. So I don't need to add any more brake fluid. It's all the way up to the maximum line, and we're perfect. So the fluid's all clean. Just wipe off any excess brake fluid that I might have. I could also, if I was at home and this was in the driveway, I could like take the garden hose and wash all the brake fluid off and get it all cleaned off of there. So this is good. We're all good. We'll save this for later. A lot of shops, once they open the brake fluid, if they don't use it in a week, they actually just throw it away because they're afraid that it absorbs too much moisture. And when the moisture gets inside of here, then it starts rusting all the components. So, but here at the high school, we seem to go through a lot of brake fluid. So, hey, I want to thank you for making it to the end of the video. I also want to thank Annette for asking for the video. I'm glad I could help you out. I'm glad that the videos are helping you work on your own cars. I really appreciate you guys subscribing. If you've got a Miata and you want to know how to work on it, this is the place to subscribe. So you don't want to miss out on anything that's coming out. I'm trying to do at least 1 to 2 videos a week on stuff that rolls in through our door here. And believe me, with 14 Miatas on the racetrack, we got stuff rolling in every day. So thank you. Have a great day, and I'll talk to you later.